Okay, now this is another relatively short document. I think it's just 2 pages. And so now we're into the after meeting support session. This is 90 minutes. And so it just starts out by asking the group, how many of you have watched webinar number 6? How many of you have had your first boot camp orientation meeting with your bragging buddy? And then what you really want to do, as we're saying in the note, is to monitor the response. Chances are that most members have not done both. Most have not watched webinar 6 or had their first meeting. So you're going to take the pulse of the group and then say, okay, now since most of us have yet to do the first boot camp orientation with our bragging buddy, why don't we just watch webinar 6 together? Okay, so turn to page 14 of the workbook and let's watch webinar 6. So it doesn't get any easier than that as a trainer. You go ahead and click on webinar 6, let it roll. It's not a long webinar, a few minutes, get through that, and then we get back into the dialogue, and it basically says, great, let us spend 5 minutes for each bragging buddy group to make plans on carrying out your first boot camp orientation if it's not done already, and also to talk about implementing systematic visibility with the business card organizer and trigger questions to start creating referrals for each other right away. So 5 minutes, okay, after the webinar. Now check out the language here. Okay, this is all very carefully crafted verbiage on what we're trying to do. And we're getting right into it. If it's not done already, and then also talk about implementing systematic visibility with the business card organizer and trigger questions to start creating referrals right away. That's what you want people talking about. Okay. For those groups that have not completed boot camp orientation session, I suggest you stay back after the session to complete or schedule a time in the next day or so. You'll need to complete it before you can move on to the next stage. So this kind of is a catch-all, if you will. The people who are staying back clearly are trying to get this thing done, and this is your role, you know, as a trainer to make sure that people are hitting their mark as they march through the process. So at this point, people really should have their first meeting done. And then you ask, okay, any questions? And then we keep going through the material. Now we'll have to move on to the connector to create a worksheet and the second boot camp orientation meeting. So everybody open up to page 15 of the workbook. So we all open up to page 15. And it says, watch webinar number 7 carefully as it gives you detailed step-by-step instruction on completing phase 2 of your boot camp and the connector to create a worksheet. So I'll come back and we'll talk about this a little bit, but I'll just keep rolling through the material. So we're on page 15. We're talking about webinar 7. We play webinar 7. Webinar 7, we watch it together, and then we say, oh my gosh, the connector to create a worksheet is certainly a very powerful tool for you to generate more referrals from your various golden geese. Now, Lee and the Power Team Certified program has made it easier for you to complete your own connector to creator worksheet. Refer to the sample worksheets found in the rear section of the workbook to complete the worksheet to best reflect you and your business. Let's spend 10 minutes doing that. Okay, now we should have a note in there, a little more explicit, but each of you on the webinar, I want you to open up your workbook starting from the very back, okay? Starting from the very back. And you'll see the worksheets, and then you turn past the worksheets, and now you start getting into the connector to creator worksheets. It's really powerful to just let people go through these themselves without a whole lot of explanation, because it makes a lot of sense once people understand the 6 key situations, which they should by now. If they've been exposed to the material, they kind of get what we're doing with the 6 key situations, and looking at these worksheets at the back, very powerful on transferring a lot of information in a short period of time to the people in the chapter. So I recommend that you demonstrate to the group there on how to find those sheets and let them look at the sheets as they have that 10 minutes. So now we get into moving towards wrapping this up. And we say for the next part, work with your bragging buddy and go through the second boot camp meeting agenda. Clarify with each other to make sure that the two of you understand the agenda. And now the next part is important. Listen up. You need to schedule your second meeting. Discuss with your bragging buddy and fix the day and time right now. You will need to complete it before the next meeting. I'm going to go around the room and get the date from you guys. Okay, so let's get this done. And as it says on the note, go around and get each bragging buddy group to announce their date and time to make sure everybody has scheduled the meeting. It's very important that we do that. And then it's just a matter of previewing the following week. And so here we just wrap up by saying, next week we're going to do lesson plan number 4, the referral drill down, with a step-by-step review of how to use the 6 key situations to create an ongoing stream of referrals. This is an intensive session as we have lots of material to cover. So everybody, listen up, complete your assignments and number 1 and number 2 boot camp meetings by next week. Does that make sense, everybody? So if I'm the trainer, I'm looking for heads nodding. I'm asking people to raise their hands. I want to see that I'm connecting with people and that it's clear what my expectation is. If you plan on generating referrals quickly, let's do this as a group and get through meetings number 1 and 2. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Take care and have a productive week. Okay? So that's your 90-minute session. That's your 90-minute session. Now I want to just quickly take a step back and talk about the first meeting and the second meeting. Okay? The first meeting and the second meeting that the bragging buddies have with each other. I just want to put it in common language. The first meeting is all about the 10 key questions. Real simple. 10 key questions. Let's understand each other better. Let's learn how to give compelling testimonials for each other. And let's limit the scope of that first meeting to that. The second meeting now, we're actually getting into our number 1 key situation, the connector to creator worksheets, the golden geese, and things start to get more strategic now. Okay? It's important that we break these up and take each one separately and give it the attention that it deserves, because this is the foundation that's going to yield maximum referrals as people start implementing systematic visibility 1 and 2, which is what we're going to get into next. So again, there's a sense of urgency to get quickly to making money for each other as fast as possible, and that's really where we're at right now with the training.